So today in this video we will be talking about artifacts, the artifacts of research. Artifacts in research is known as the hindrance. That means it's a negative term, and it in the result it affects the result of any research. There are broadly 9 types of artifacts in any research, which are history, maturation, instrumentations, experimental mortality, sample selection, demand characteristics, experimental bias, diffusions or imitations of treatment, and compensatory rivalry. That means any research, while conducting any research, we have certain artifacts, which are the history. The events a researcher's attitude, opinion, behavior change. The past part. That means the historical aspect sometimes affects the result of the research. The maturation. Maturation means the biological or psychological characteristics while conducting a longitudinal research. Suppose a sample frame has taken a longitudinal research, that means the research will be going on for a long period of time. Then the sample gets matured. It's known as maturation. So this maturation causes artifact. Artifact means hindrance, and hindrance, the second part of hindrance in any research is maturation. Maturation of what? Maturation of the sample in a longitudinal study. Then comes instrumentation. Instrumentation, if while conducting a research, if the instrumentation starts malfunctioning. This generally occurs in longitudinal study. The instrument can any point of time get deteriorated. At any point of time it can function in a negative way. So instrumentation is another artifact, another problem, another hindrance, another negative term, or another disturbance in research result. Then comes experimental mortality. The variables or the subject, mortality means death, if the subject or the variables dies, then it affects in a research work. Then comes sample selection, the common error we all know. Sample selection is also a problem. So sample selection also causes hindrance or artifacts in research. Then comes the demand characteristics. Demand characteristics means the subject's reaction to experimental problem. How the subject reacts to any particular experimental problem. Then experimenter bias. The person, it's the researcher's bias. Rosenthal 1969 has stated this term. This is another hindrance, or this is another artifact. This is another effect, result, negative term of research, which is experimenter bias. Then comes diffusion or imitation of treatment. The same treatment. While conducting a research, the treatment, suppose someone is making it a negative term, someone is copying from another result, another report, another research, then it's the imitation of treatment. So imitation of treatment is also considered as artifact. Imitation of treatment is also a hindrance in research. Finally, we have compensatory rivalry. Compensatory rivalry means while conducting a research, the experimental group, we divide a sample into different parts, different groups. So the compensatory rivalry means the control group tends to affect in some different ways, which might hinder the research original result. That means in a nutshell we can say artifacts are the hindrance in research, which is a negative term, and from here we can see previous year questions as well. So artifact, there comes direct questions. How many types of artifacts are there? As we know, there are 9 types of artifacts, which are history, maturation, instrumentation, experimental mortality, sample selection, demand characteristics, experimenter bias, diffusions or imitation of treatment, and compensatory rivalry. History means the events the researcher already conducting, while conducting the research they are having certain opinion, the behavior change. Maturation means the researcher, while conducting the research, the sample gets matured. This is especially in longitudinal study. Suppose I am conducting a research for class 5 level students. All right. Now, in a longitudinal study, the cognitive development of class 5 students will certainly mature, the thinking procedure will get matured. So this is also a hindrance. All these 9 parts are the hindrance in research, the problems in research, the negative aspects in research. Instrumentation means, if suppose the instrument gets malpractice, instruments aren't working in a proper function, they are not functioning properly, then it's the instrumentation artifact, instrumental problem. Experimental mortality means death. Experimental means the person to whom I am conducting the research. Suppose that particular person dies, then it's experimental mortality. Sample selection is pretty much common, and we all know sampling error. So this is also, so while conducting a research, if we have sample selection problem, it is also considered as an artifact. Demand characteristics means the subject's reaction to experimental problem. So while conducting research, in the previous class, previous rapid revision series, we have talked about that the variables of the research varies. Now the demand characteristic, the subject's reaction also matters. Experimenter bias means, experimenter means the researcher. Researcher's biases also makes a negative impact, biases on research. Diffusion or imitation of treatment. Imitation means copying. If the result is copied from another result, suppose we are having similar types of research, similar research programs, and while conducting the research, though the research title remains same, but it's not necessary their object is also same. So copying from a similar result, imitating from a similar result also hinders the effect of the result. The research effect get disturbed, get hindrance. Then finally comes compensatory rivalry. Compensatory rivalry works in control group. Suppose while conducting a research, me as a researcher is dividing the entire sample population into different parts. Then they are controlling the group. They are behaving, the rivalry group are behaving in such a way that conducting the research makes it very much difficult. So from this particular section in 2021, we can see a PYQ that which are the sources of artifact. History, instrumentation and experimental mortality are the answers. But in this particular questions, there were some other options as well. I have only written the correct answers. So from these 9 sections, there will be another options which are not correct. So we have to hunt, or we have to identify the right artifacts. Sometimes chronologies are also asked. What is artifacts? So we have to chronologically say the history, the maturation, the instrumentation, the experimental mortality, the sample selection, the demand characteristics, the experimental bias, the diffusion or imitation of treatment, the compensatory rivalry. So after this, the same questioning part is coming, that which are the sources of artifacts. So we can say history, instrumentation and experimental mortality. Now moving on to the next part, which is types of research, and this is very important. Types of research. And so as I have discussed before, this is not a detailed explanation class, it's a revision class, it's a rapid revision class. So identifying types of research, we can see we have a formula. Types of research can be divided into 2 parts: qualitative and quantitative research. So all the qualitative research can be understood by CSEED, CSEED. Correlational studies, survey, experimental, ex post facto, descriptive and ethnographic research are qualitative. Other than CSEED, every research is quantitative. So types of research, today we will be only talking about this particular thing. Tomorrow we will have a brief discussion on the detailed types of research. Alright, we will be having a discussion on the detailed types of research. Okay, so the main type of research which we will be talking today is the qualitative. How to identify, from exam point of view, how to identify qualitative and quantitative type of research. Suppose it's CSEED. If the research is C-seed, that means correlational, surveyed, experimental, ex-post facto, descriptive and ethnographic, it is qualitative. And other than C-seed, every research is quantitative. So thank you. This was it with today's rapid revision. We have discussed about artifacts of research, the hindrance of research, and the quick identification of type of research, qualitative and quantitative. If it's C-seed, we can say that it's qualitative, and other than C-seed, it's quantitative. Quality means dealing with the actual quality, and quantity means dealing with number. And to some extent we have certain experimental research where we use triangulation method. We use both the methods as well. Thank you for connecting at ease, no media, where we discuss media topics at ease.